This is the Montana Outdoor Podcast, brought to you in part by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. And by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, get ready for more fascinating topics and the most interesting people you will ever find in Montana's great outdoors. We offer new podcasts most every Saturday. You can get a link to these podcasts by going to our website, montanooutdoor.com, or by going to our Facebook page, or just send an email to downrigger at montanooutdoor.com and say send a link to my email. It's that simple. Now let's head out with your host, Downrigger Dale, and see what's going on in Montana's great outdoors.
Thank you very much, Manny, and welcome again into the Montana Outdoor Podcast studio and part 2 of our podcast about the incredible documentary, The Real Yellowstone, and the director of the film, Tom Opry. He'll be joining us in a second. But first, I wanted to give a special welcome to our men and women of the United States Armed Forces that are deployed all across the world listening to this podcast. Yeah, our active military watch the podcast. It is an honor that so many of you do that. We really can't thank you enough. And, of course, thank you for your service. And also, I want to give a big shout out to our veterans out there that are listening. Montana is home to a whole lot of veterans, and I want to thank you very much for your service to our great country. To everyone listening here, before we get going on a bunch of stuff, I want to ask you a quick favor. When you get a chance, please hit the subscribe button to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you found the podcast here. And that way you can get notified when we have another podcast out that is ready and waiting for you. While you're at it, if you like the content you see here, mash that like button too, and then share this podcast with your family and friends and social media. It really does make a big difference. It helps us out a lot and allows us to keep doing this. Also, those of you listening to this podcast, listening to the audio-only version of the podcast, remember it is, if you want to get that whole Montana Outdoor Podcast experience, it is on video too. So you can go to YouTube and check out our YouTube channel and actually watch the podcast because you'll get to see a lot more and see some scenes. For example, we'll be playing a preview to The Real Yellowstone, and you'll get to see that instead of just listening to it. And we're also going to be playing some other scenes from the movie in this podcast. So anyway, head to YouTube if you'd like to check all that out. If you say, gosh, Rigger, I don't know how to find stuff on YouTube, not a problem. Shoot me an email. In the podcast description, there's a link to my email address, and just shoot me an email. I'll send you a link so you can get right into it. Now let's pick up where we left off with Tom Opry, the director of The Real Yellowstone. Tom and I were talking about the daunting challenges that farmers and ranchers face here in Montana, and how now our hunters and anglers are facing the potential of more and more land getting locked up and pulled out of important programs like the block management program in Montana, or just flat made off limits to hunting and fishing, as well as other sportsmen, by well-funded conservation groups that just have the wrong idea about what hunting actually is all about and how it is one of the most effective tools that has ever existed to help ensure that we always have lots of wildlife in Montana. Plus, many of these groups want to stop management of wildlife predators that will cause, of course, deer, elk, antelope, and so many others that roam our wonderful state to just flat disappear if those predators aren't managed. And, of course, eventually what ends up happening, we've seen this before, and that is then those predators that they're thinking they're protecting end up starving to death. So we're getting out of balance here. And Tom talked about one of the reasons for that is there's a huge disconnect between what hunting and fishing is all about and these conservation groups, and how important it is for farmers and ranchers and outdoor sportsmen to come together and not just support each other, but educate that huge urban population that's out there about the importance of proper wildlife management, that, of course, the sportsmen and farmers and ranchers play a huge part in, as well as the fact that farmers and ranchers feed all those folks in those big cities everywhere. But the challenges go way beyond that. This film also talks about how individuals with the financial means are moving to Montana, buying up huge amounts of land, and then locking the land up and shutting it off to those that are best at managing our wildlife so they can survive in Montana forever. And they do that under the auspices of thinking they're doing the right thing. So most of them are well-intended. They just don't have the right information. And that's what Tom was talking about, is we need to educate them more about what the role we all play here. So here's more of that discussion with Tom. And well, as I said earlier, we'll be playing more scenes from the movie too, coming up.
The Real Yellowstone. Visit shepherdsofwildlife.org for more information.
There's a lot of stuff that you may not even realize that the farmer and rancher is going through right now. And then you put on top of that, you've got out-of-state money, both in whether it's American Prairie or just individuals, flashing a lot of dough at them, that if they get their way, and especially with a lot of the independent buyers, you want to see your access go bye-bye. Guess what? If the rancher doesn't stand their ground, and think about this, somebody's flashing tens of millions of dollars in front of these people, and they've turned it down because they care about this and the family and where you're going to hunt. That's a pretty big deal. And so I really hope you watch this movie for that as well, because there are a lot of folks that are coming into Montana that would rather say, this is my piece of Montana now, and guess what? Nobody's coming on here.
Yeah, and Dale, this is the David Letterman thing, right? You know, coming up there in the front, buying a big spread. It used to have people had access to it and just puts a padlock. We've heard and seen that for decades now. Again, those types of people we've got to build relationships with. We've got to say, hey, at the end of the day, you know, you get these scenarios where you get these unintended consequences. So you get an out-of-stater that they're buying these ranches and they're paying way beyond a per acre price that you can pencil out for agriculture. You know, I don't care what it is. It just, we got people paying tens of thousands of dollars an acre on big spreads. I'm talking 10,000 acres or better. And there's no way you can't, unless the cows, you know, are made of gold, you can't make it work. And it doesn't, and that's completely different than what this land has been traditionally, how it's been managed and by the people who have been managing it. And so people have to understand, hey, you know, you get somebody who buys a ranch, and they may even be a hunter, all right? And I've heard all kinds of stories. And of course, they want to go out and hunt it. And they're going to have their friends and family. They're flying in from wherever. And they go do this. But of course, they don't let the residents hunt there anymore. And then, you know, they want to look out their window while they're eating dinner with their buddies during hunting season and see a herd of elk out there in the meadow, right? So they're real careful about pushing the elk off their ranch. Well, of course, you know, as soon as the season's over, those cows, they know where the pressure is. They move off those ranches and they go on to the neighbors. And then of course we're back to that second cutting next summer, and they're eating neighbor stuff. And the numbers keep going up and up and up. And, you know, and elk populations here in Montana, from everything I'm hearing and seeing, are doing really, really well. We don't have any biologists in the film, you know, from FWP, because we weren't able to get FWP to work with us, by the way, which I thought was weird. But at the end of the day, though, these are real issues. And so we need to get people to sit down and talk. I know of a ranch right next to the Stephen Livestock Company where they've decided, because the ranchers, their neighbors, have said, hey, you're becoming a problem here. They've actually and signed up for block management. so that they're going to get some more pressure, get some more people out there utilizing the resource and kind of pushing things around and spreading it. And even, one story on here that I just really want to share with you folks, the Sebring Livestock Company, Cooper Hibbert and his family, he's the next generation taking over the ranch, and they're doing this regenerative ranching. It's this trying to mimic what bison did on the landscape for thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, whatever you believe in, but they've been there for a long time, and these landscapes have evolved with that type of intensive grazing. And with that, if you mimic it, they're putting 1,000 head on 100 acres with using electric polywire around it for 24 hours. And there's no selective grazing. These, the livestock, they're eating everything, and then they're defecating in it, and they're breaking up the ground with their hooves. And it's just like a human being going to the gym and lifting weights and then taking a rest period. They let it sit for 2 years. Everything grows back exponentially more healthy. It's like breaking down your muscles and lifting weights and
it
coming
was
back
neat in the
strong.
movie where they were showing that how the roots are setting in better. This is making it much better prairie, which guess what? It not only benefits their cattle, it benefits the wildlife that are going through there.
Yeah, and that's all those elk now that live there and stuff. And so, but on the hunting side of things they're part of block management. They've been in it for 30, 40 years. They run about 1,200 days a year of hunters year round. They've got a great reservoir for fishing, and they let people come up and do that. It's all type 2. So you gotta get a hold of them. You got to sign them. Of course, that particular management plan for elk there at the Devil's Kitchen, they shut down, I think it's the last 3 weeks of the season, they shut it down to a permit only to hunt bull elk. And so you got to draw a permit to hunt the end of the season. But if you're one of the first 16 people to call Cooper on the last Saturday in September and get him at the ranch that morning, and if you've drawn one of those tags, the first 16 callers get to hunt the ranch. And it's like winning the lottery. It's like getting the sheep tag and the breaks, the west side of the breaks. And so, it's pretty cool. But also the first week of the seasons for the family and the last week of the seasons for the family. And that first week we documented them. They go up on the boundary of the ranch next to state wildlife lands and BLM, where people are walking and riding 6-8 miles in from a trailhead to hunt this stuff. And their job for the first 2 days of the season is push back any elk that come towards the ranch to get pushed off of public, because they want the public to harvest as many elk as they can, because their stated goal in that basin is to have about 2,500 elk, and they're sitting at about 4,500 to 5,000, almost double what they should have. And so they are doing everything they can to make sure that the public can have access to those elk, even giving up their first weekend of the season, which is a big deal for a lot of people. Now they've turned it into a family and camaraderie and being able to socialize and stuff, which, again, that's why a lot of us spend time in the outdoors and go hunting and fishing, is to have that camaraderie. But those are the types of things that people don't really understand or realize. And they've done such a good job of managing the wildlife through regenerative ranching and this Devil's Kitchen agreement that they've got people that have decided to fly in with helicopters, and they're literally landing on people who are, Joe Public, resident land hunters that have gone through the system to get permission. And
that part of the film just pissed me off.
Well, and I've posted some stuff on Facebook about it, and I get people, so what? It's public land. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're pulling back on a 6-point bull, a bull of a lifetime, and here comes a helicopter looking for elk, flying 100 feet off the ground, which is illegal.
And it's showing it. Yeah, they're coming
and the
right
elk
in.
are going pell-mell.
And here's hunters going, what in the hell is that?
Exactly. We actually interviewed a hunter that had that exact experience last year.
Yeah.
And so, guys, I get it. Yeah, public land, if you can get into it, work a relationship up. Now, they have part of their ranch, a third of their ranch is type 1, category 1 BMA, block management. So you just sign on the deal and go hunting. These people, and that's, when it comes to our multi-generational families, most of them are very open to giving access to people. Now, we talk about this commercialization of wildlife. I hear this bandied around. Well, commercialization, guys, we're talking about market hunting. We're talking about the 1800s in North America, where people were killing stuff to feed other people, in some cases the railroad gangs, or we were killing bison because it was an act of war, trying to take away resources from an opponent. But at the end of the day, we have seasons, we have bag limits, we have the ethics we have today. We don't have, if you want to talk about commercialization, then I would say, the taxidermists, they're making money off of wildlife, right? Okay, I would say FWP, they make a whole lot of money off of wildlife, don't they? So are they commercializing it? I mean, these are the questions we talk about in this film. And people have to understand, if it doesn't work for everybody, it doesn't work. It's got to work for everyone, and including our resident hunters who want to hunt on private, who want to hunt on public. But, like I said, we've got so much pressure now on our public land. And Randy Newberg talks about this. We have a podcast coming out with him soon. We take all these interviews and we create podcasts so that, because, I incredible interviews, great stories. Some of them last for an hour or two. I'm only going to use like maybe a couple minutes of statements in a film like this, or maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So we put the podcast out so that people can hear the full context of the conversations. And sometimes the conversations can be somewhat tense. I mean, like these keepers, dealing with Scotland and dealing with the rewilding crowd over there that wants to basically remove all the people off the land. Yet they want billionaires from foreign countries to come in and buy up these estates and build parking lots and trails. And matter of fact, it was the CEO of the John Muir Trust told me that a couple of years ago. We want to have these people come in because they have the money to build the infrastructure for tourism. And I looked at him and I said, "You're the CEO of what again?" He says, "The John Muir Trust." And I said, "Yeah, I know. Have you ever read any of John Muir's writings? Because he absolutely abhorred the human footprint, let alone a lodge in an asphalt parking lot." And he literally told me to my face on camera, "Well, we don't believe in his ideology." So I'm like, "What are you guys, a bunch of frauds?" But I mean, that's the kind of thing that I'll get into. I won't mince words. I mean, hey, this is where we've talked about American Prairie. It's a hot button issue. Lewistown, I had a lady walk out of there cussing and screaming, not at me, just the fact that somebody from American Prairie had a voice. We interviewed several of the people that work there, including Bill Hilf, their chairman of the board. And Bill Hilf is a hunter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. He and I, we can talk about it. Matter of fact, he and I have had some really fascinating discussions. His podcast just hit just a couple days ago. So you can go to shepherdswildlife.org and hit podcast and you can listen to Bill. Bill has a big plan. Whether he can enact it or not, that's another question, right? You're talking about a board, talking about politics. You got to have 50% plus one, right? We're back to that again. And then, how do we ensure that these lands are all going to have access? One of the things that he's real proud of is that they are the largest participant in Montana's block management program at over 80,000 acres. Half of it's in type 1, which means any of it can sign on the sheet and go hunt, and half of it's on type 2. Now, I hear people complain, "Oh, it's walk-in only." Well, you show me a whole lot of places that are in block management that aren't walk-in only. Right. We all know if it's not walk-in, then there's chances of seeing something usually degrades substantially. And then type 2, all the reservations are handled by FWP. And I hear people saying, "Well, that's not true." And it is. That's what's going on. So, again, if you don't like something, that's okay. But be careful what you say. Okay.
But one of the parts of the film that really got me, and we're talking about the real Yellowstone film here, is that, the folks from American Prairie have, this, what they feel is their grand idea and concept and of rewilding the land. And one of the ranchers says, "Well, that all sounds great until you're the one that's getting rewilded."
Matt Wickens there and Winifred. Yeah, Matt's classic. So
and I mean, what a great sentiment, because he's looking at it going, no.
The ranching community is the poorest set of millionaires you've ever met.
American Prairie Reserve takes away our future.
They wanted to buy our land, change our traditions, and disregard our communities.
Everybody knows that we're in the land acquisition business. We're very transparent about that.
A lot of ranches are barely hanging on.
Feels like a ticking time bomb that someday it's all going to catch.
The real Yellowstone.
Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. Truth is, the Montana Outdoor Podcast wouldn't exist without their incredible support. And if you've been enjoying these episodes each week, maybe it's time to support the folks who help make it happen. So here's the question. Do you need a trailer for work? For hauling gear to your next adventure? Or maybe a new truck bed to help keep your life organized, whether it's for work or play? Well then, go see the folks who already get what you're about. You see, if you listen to this show, you've already got something in common with Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. Like you, they love the outdoors. They work hard, and they're dang good at what they do. Their job? Helping people like you get your work done faster so you can get back out in Montana's great outdoors. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer carries a full lineup of Diamond C trailers, gooseneck, equipment, dub trailers, well, you name it. Whether you're hauling a few supplies or towing the big stuff, Diamond C trailers are built to handle it all with reliability and ease. They also carry CM truck beds, the strongest, most durable truck beds around. Plus, they service everything they sell. Need your trailer rewired so the lights work the way they're supposed to? They'll take care of that too. Got a new truck? They'll get you set up with the accessories you need, installed and ready to roll. And don't wait until the last minute to schedule your trailer service. Do that ahead of time so your gear's ready to go when you are. They also stock a huge selection of parts for Boss snowplows, CM truck beds, and Diamond C trailers. And if it's not in stock, they'll find it. Need financing? Well, they've got you covered there, too. Need a gooseneck or fifth wheel hitch for that rodeo trip or family outing to the great outdoors? Yep, they install those, too. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They're in Missoula at 5680 Expressway. You can call them at 406-549-4243 or check them out online at rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, rmtte.com. Now let's get back to what Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer helped create, the podcast.
Let me explain something to the viewers here. 25 years ago or so, 25 years ago, these ranchers tell me that in a cloud of dust, these black Suburbans showed up at their doorstep with these, three-piece suit wearing folks saying, "Hey, we're here to save the prairie." And I don't know about you, but that would certainly set up some red flags to me, especially when I'm a good steward of the land. I'm taking care of it. And let's face it, folks, not all ranchers are good stewards. I mean, there are always a few bad apples.
There's bad apples everywhere, yeah.
But at the end of the day, that threw up a lot of, and even Andrew McKeon talks about this, and Andrew's kind of a guy who's, he's fairly forward thinking, and
he's been on our podcast.
Yeah,
before.
He's the recipe. He said this is a recipe for ostracization. I mean, these people that should have figured this out. It's kind of common sense, right? And at the end of the day, these folks, their biggest problem is with 10% of this land that they're trying to acquire that's been farmed, it's been underneath the plow. The 90% of the land that we're talking about in this area, it's just, nobody's done anything other than run cows or bison on it, right? Bison and then now cows in that modern age. And, I hope I get a chance to talk to their board and make some recommendations, because they really need to change their act, and they could be a great asset to Montana sportsmen and women. Bill has got a big plan. You'll hear that in the podcast. You hear it on the show or on the film. He'd like to see a lot more wildlife on their land. There's going to be some issues to it, but he also wants to make sure it's open to the public, and whether they can get there or not, that's a question I had for him. And again, whether we can ensure that access is in perpetuity. He talks about policy. Well, I talk about some sort of legal arrangement. Can we do those things? And you'll hear that in a podcast. And then, so, it is a contentious issue. And I'm just the messenger, folks.
Yeah.
Don't shoot me today on Facebook.
They say they don't make them like they used to, but at Superior Hardwoods of Montana, that's kind of the whole point. This isn't just a lumber yard. We're talking about 11 acres of reclaimed wood. Wall paneling, flooring, trim, beams, slabs, you name it. Every single piece has a story behind it. Old barns, historic homesteads, long-forgotten factories. This wood has been places, and now it can be part of your story, too. Maybe you're building a home, remodeling a room, or just putting together that dream project you've had on the back burner. Superior Hardwoods of Montana can help bring it to life. They can even custom mill it to fit your exact vision, because real craftsmanship never goes out of style. And here's the thing. You're not just getting character and beauty when you choose reclaimed wood. You're reclaiming American history. You're giving something old a brand new chapter with values that never go out of style. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Whether you're a contractor, a weekend DIYer, or someone who just loves a one-of-a-kind piece of wood, Superior Hardwoods is open to the public and ready to help. Exotic woods, live-edge slabs, pre-finished and unfinished flooring, it's all in stock and ready to go. Need help picking out the right material? Just ask. Their team has been doing it since 1977, and they know how to guide you through the woods, literally and figuratively. Swing by their beautiful showroom at 5120 Highway 93 South in Missoula, or check them out online at superior-hardwoods.com. I promise you, you'll leave inspired. That's Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Local, knowledgeable, family-run, and ready to help you build something that lasts. Let them help guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see him.
I read a book for every one of these films. It's the making of the film. It's everything that ended up on the cutting room floor, which is substantial. And it's all the nuance. And literally the last chapter is me. I use that as my little bully pulpit, my little podium to say, hey guys, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense. And if we're going to end up with these positive outcomes, here is potentially a path forward. And I've done that with a film in Africa. Actually, the book made the Amazon bestseller list. We did the same thing in Scotland. And now this next book, I'm hoping to have out in the next couple months here. It's called The Real Yellowstone, Framing the Future. And again, we take all the interviews, everything that it took to get there. And so it's a really interesting deal because not only are these films, Dale, I'm a journalist, so it's investigative journalism. So I follow this path and I go down these sometimes rabbit holes. And so some people turn out to be really like the right people to say a story. Sometimes crazy things happen. So they become really big parts of the film. But at the end of the day, it's really good information that we all need to make. We need to input all this information into our brains so that we can make really good decisions. And again, it's all meant for us to sit down and talk, and try to find common ground, which I even hate using that word because it's such a cliche thing. But we got to find those places where we all can sit down and agree on things. And the first thing is, okay, what is the outcome? Where do we want to be? What is the ultimate deal here? And for me, Dale, I've got kids here growing up and they're trying to figure out how to stay here in Montana. They're getting a great education, primary education here. I want them to stay here, and my kids is, their ancestry goes back to the 1880s here. And matter of fact, the UL Bend was the old bull pasture at Town Brothers Ranch, and so my three oldest kids, that's their mother's side of the family, and it's really important that we keep this out there working for them so that they can see and do the things that we're doing. And honestly, I just want us to all get together and make sure that we leave this planet better than we found it.
Yeah, and when you watch the film, what I love about it is you just put it out there and everybody can take what they want out of it, but what I hope people get out of this is that we've got to find a way. We talk about conservation. Well, we need to conserve our way of life here in Montana, which hunting and fishing has been an absolute way we live in this state. And for our ranching and farming families, for generations, that's what they've done. But we're in the crosshairs, all of us, at this point. And so how are we going to do this together and work it together so we can conserve all of this so our kids and their kids and their kids and on get to have the Montana that they should have?
My great-grandfather was the first recorded white child born in the territory of Montana in 1864. My great-great-grandpa came to Montana 1850, 51, somewhere in there. We've been on this place for well over 100 years. My great-grandfather got into the hunting business, guiding. My grandfather did it, my dad did it. This will be our 48th year that I've done it. I've stayed in it because I wanted to pass it on to my grandson, but I'm not sure there's going to be anything left to pass on. I mean, we used to have 20,000 plus elk on the northern range. The last time I knew of a cooperative count between the state and the Forest Service and the Fish and Game and everybody was around 7,000 head. The wolf population decimated the elk herd, mainly because the elk herd had never seen a predator like these wolves. These are Canadian wolves that they brought in, and they were Rocky Mountain timber wolves that were here originally. The difference is size, aggressiveness. My granddad was one of the guys that they hired back in the teens and the early 20s to take the wolves out of Yellowstone Park. They only trapped and got 32 wolves out of Yellowstone Park. That's all they ever took. Now we've got hundreds of wolves here. When they put the wolves back in under the Endangered Species Act, I always said that they broke the law because Canadian gray wolves were never indigenous to this area. So I sold out my business here and I leased some private ranches about 145 miles north of here to try to put distance between the predators and myself. They won't let us manage the wolf population here or the grizzly bear population. The decisions on wildlife are no longer based on science or biology. They're based on social, economic, and political information. My thought has always been, by the time the Fish and Game Department discovers that there's a problem, it's usually too late to fix it. The guys like me and the guys like the general public, they're not going to have anything left to hunt.
Help us bring this story to Congress, classrooms, and conservation leaders worldwide. Every dollar boosts this message. Watch, share, donate, stand with the people of the real Yellowstone.
Before we go, and I've just taken way too much of your time. I know you're busier than heck, but was there anything that surprised you about this? That after you got done with the film, you went, "Wow, I didn't think I was going to get that out of it."
Yeah, as far as the actual content of the film, nothing really surprised me because, like I said, I've been here most of my adult life. I know a lot of the people in here, and I know what the issues are, but the one thing that's been a real surprise to me has been the feedback from people that watch the film, from our rancher and farming community, from our sportsmen, because they all, I've never seen anything like it, Dale. I mean, these people we've had 450,000 views on Facebook on videos just in the last week.
Yeah.
We put out good content, like you said, but I mean, this is like on a different level. I go from 45,000 views a week to 450,000 views, and it's climbing.
Wow.
What we need is the people that watch the film, that go see the film. When they get home, they need to call their neighbors. They need to call their family members. They need to go to work and talk about the film. They need to post about it on social media. They need to write about it, letters to the editor, to your media. You need to call up the people in media and say, hey, have you guys reported on this? Because this is real. We need to understand this, because this is so much about who we are, our culture, and what we are here in Montana. And we've got to figure out a way to get a movement going. That's what we're looking to. We want all of us to start pushing this out, because if we can get this movement going, then we can get in and start talking to people in New York City. We can get this message in front of people in LA and San Francisco who don't have the same ideals and values.
Get the folks in Congress to watch this movie.
100%. I mean, yeah. I've already texted a few things to our congressman and one of our senators and said, hey, let's get this in the Capitol. I have screened my films in the past in the U.S. Capitol. I'm going to be screening this later on this year with the Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation State Legislator Summit. And it's so important to make sure these decision makers hear these stories and educate themselves to them. This past week, we had the State Director of Ag, Jillian Peters, here in Whitefish, and she asked me to do a screening with an event that she had 15 other state directors of Ag from all over the West, and those Ag directors were saying, hey, can we screen this with our legislators? Can we screen this with our governors? And of course, that's what this is all about. And I'll tell you, Dale, we produce not only a feature film, but we also produce we boil it into 55 minutes for PBS. We're working with Wyoming PBS as our station, so all of my films are going into the PBS catalog for syndication to all 300 plus odd stations. And then we do a 30-minute version. It's specifically designed for the corporate boardroom, classroom settings, and political screenings. And so that'll be available for free probably the first part of next year once we get through with this whole process of putting out there. And of course, the feature film, once we get done with the tour and the digital cinema event, we're going to be looking to put it on one of the big streaming platforms out there, whether it be Amazon or Netflix. But we've done Amazon with our previous films. There is some talk about maybe pitching it to Netflix. So we'll see what happens. But if you go to Facebook, follow me, Tom Opry, O-P-R-E, Oscar Papa Romeo Echo, Shepherds of Wildlife. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Follow us, follow me. You'll get updated on what's going on. Go to shepherdsofwildlife.org, sign up for our newsletter, be a part of a movement that means something.
Right.
I want to make sure that I tell you, 20 years from now, Dale, I want to be out here with my kids on opening day of pheasant season. We would have had this incredible day out in the field, and we're going to go home and cook those great birds. And of course, I will have forgotten something we need to cook these birds with. So we'll stop at the grocery store, all wearing our hunting clothing, hot and sweaty. And some lady's going to walk up to me and go, "Are you a hunter?" And I'm going to say, "Yes, ma'am." And she's going to look at me and go, "Thank you for what you do for wildlife." And then she'll addle up to me and whisper in my ear, "Hey, by the way, do you think I could have a few of those pheasants?" That's where we want to go. That's what we need to do. And if we can't do this, then I don't have much hope for humanity, because this is the most essence of who we are as humans. It's in our DNA. And really, hunters are not evil. We just have not been doing a good job of explaining to the broader public how important wildlife
we got a bit of a PR problem, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. So,
well, Tom, you've been very kind with your time and all that, and you're a great guy. You're not backed by any big Hollywood studio or any of that. I mean, I don't know how you do this. It's got to be tough financially. You are a nonprofit organization. Can folks help you if they want?
Yeah, 100%.
How do we do that?
If they go to our website, shepherdsofwildlife.org, there'll be our sneak peek button on there. You click that on, you'll be able to watch a little 14-minute film that's kind of the sneak peek of the film. So if you haven't seen the film yet, you've only seen the trailer or maybe some of the segments that you've got on the show here, it's a great way to get a real rounded idea of what it is. And then there'll be a link on there. You can click on that, and we've got a campaign going on PayPal right now. We're trying to raise $100,000. And that money is 100% being used to reach our target audience, our urban population throughout America. With every dollar, I can reach 100 people. So if we can raise 50,000, we can reach 5 million. If we can raise 100,000, we can reach 10 million people. And that's without the grassroots. That's paid advertising. And what we're also looking for is for every one of you to share, like, post, call your neighbors, talk to people at church. If you've got a theater that we can do a screening, we can get 100, 200 people to come to, send me a PM on social media, or reach me out through shepherdsofwildlife.org and send me a message. And we'll see if we can't get it in the schedule, because I think watching the film in person, especially if you can have the filmmaker there. We don't usually do Q&As afterwards. I found that, these issues are really contentious and somebody gets a mic in their hands, it's usually not a good outcome. But we like to have panel discussions. And so the panel discussion we did in Bozeman at the premiere, we had Brian Yablonsky from PERC, the Property Environmental think tank there, and dealing with land issues and wildlife conflict. We had Trinity Vandenaker. Trinity is this huge internet and I call him like a social media cowboy, lives out of Townsend and documents what it's like to be a rancher and all the trials and tribulations. And then I had Rob Cheney from the Missoulian, previously from the Missoulian, who's now writing for Mountain Journal. And I've known Rob for probably close to 25 years now. And they all gave a really unique and interesting perspective. They weren't allowed to watch the film before they came up on the stage. They watched it with everybody else. And then they asked me questions. I asked them questions. It was pretty neat. We recorded that. So if in August 15th, when we start the digital cinema event, you'll have an opportunity to also purchase the digital cinema ticket to watch the hour-and-a-half long film, and you'll also have access for this 40-minute panel discussion, which is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, do that and get involved with Tom's organization, because he's putting stuff out there. The way I kind of look at it is, can you imagine this? Wouldn't it be great when people come here from out of state, if they already knew what Montana was about, instead of coming here and saying, what you guys ought to do here?
You mean break the old gate rule there, Dale?
Yeah. And I know that bugs a lot of you, but it would be great to get a good unified voice to say, this is what we're about. Yeah, you're welcome to come, but this is how we do it. I think it could get everybody on the same page, and we keep this great state and this great way we live around. So anyway, I appreciate you trying to champion that, Tom. That's wonderful. So thanks for your time. Thanks for what you do. And thanks for this great film, The Real Yellowstone. And if you don't mind, I'd love to play this song as we go out, because this song was very moving to me. I know.
Yeah, and like I said on the break, that we wrote this song with the idea that it literally could become the theme song for the modern American rancher, and it's available on all the different streaming, so iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. Yeah. You can even tag it onto your Facebook and Instagram. If you want to add a music piece, just type in the land is like a lady. I got too many the on The Real Yellowstone, the last keeper. So anyway, But anyways, the land is like a lady. The chorus is awesome. The land is like a lady. Take care of her and she'll take care of you. That's how important this is.
This ranch was built on blood and sweat, paid for in grazing cows. Now the landmen, they all circle around like poachers on the prowl. Out-of-staters moving in, driving land prices high. Feels like this is where old cow towns go to die. The land's like a lady. Care for her, she'll care for you. Our fate is tied to every blade of grass. But next year could always be our last. Will my children see what I've seen, or will this dream survive? The land is like a lady, but lately we just make her cry. The neighbor sold a year ago to a lawyer from L.A. Cows ain't paid for land since '82, and they never will again. Wolves are circling the cabin lot as my profits fade away, but all my family is buried here. This ranch is who I am, not just what I do. Now my children learn to love the land, and they'll teach their children too, that the land's like a lady. Care for her and she'll care for you. Our fate is tied to every blade of grass. But next year could always be our last. Will my children see what I've seen, or will this dream survive? The land is like a lady, but lately we just make her cry. Yeah, the land is like a lady, but lately we just make her cry.